Now, I want to ask you about this issue of indexation. Now, have Treasury built indexation of this proposed tax measure in the IGR?
So within the IGR, the approach that we take to assessing concessions over a longer period of time is more of a top-down approach. So we take the whole population of individuals and then apply some very broad assumptions to their over the 40-year period, and as a result of that can calculate sort of what the concessions might be across the broad population. We don't, as part of that exercise, look at any particular cohort of members. So we haven't separated out the cohort of members that this tax might apply to and modelled them individually, as we would to develop an estimate for who would be affected. So they're two different exercises. So within the IGR, there is.
Hang on. Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to be precise on this point. So you publish a cost of the super system and the retirement tax concessions in the IGR. So I'm trying to work out whether you index this measure or not.
So as a technical assumption, a number of measures that aren't indexed at a point in the medium term are assumed to move, and so I'd have to take on notice on what basis that moves, but it is expected that thresholds that are fixed, and that's not only thresholds in the superannuation system. Those sort of technical assumptions apply to a range.
So if the threshold is fixed, okay, fine. So we'll take on notice if we need to, but I'm not trying to be unreasonable here. But if the threshold is fixed, then the modelling produced by industry would be accurate, wouldn't it?
Well, we haven't reviewed the modelling that industry have done.
You haven't reviewed it?
Well, we haven't undertaken a detailed review of modelling that industry have done. And there's a number of organisations who have suggested numbers of individuals that might be affected at some point in the future. We haven't made a detailed review of all of those assessments. However,
have we done any internal analysis on the 500,000 projection?
And we've not done a detailed review. I would say that my initial reaction to the modelling that the Financial Services Council has done is that it's done in a way that's markedly different to how Treasury would undertake that type of exercise if we were to, but we haven't undertaken a detailed review of that number.
So what do you think the number is then?
No, we haven't undertaken an exercise to forecast a number beyond.
But you just said it would be markedly different, so you must have some idea.
No, what I say is that the methodology that's used in the FSC analysis is markedly different to the approach that we would take were we to do the same. That's not to say that the result of, if we were to do some analysis, asked to do some analysis, that we wouldn't come up with a number that might be similar, but I can't say what that number would be because we haven't undertaken that type of analysis.
Okay, so is your position that there would be 80,000 people worse off now?
In the 25-26 financial year, 80,000 individuals would be affected by the arrangements at that point in time.
Okay. And you're saying you've done no work to ascertain how many people will be affected in the future? As
is typically the case when we're costing policies of this type, we look at the forward estimates period and the commencement of this tax is at the end of the forward estimates period. We've done no analysis beyond that point in time.
Okay, but your view is that the industry modelling is wrong, but you won't say what your number is.
I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm saying that the methodology that's used is quite different to the approach that we would take were we to do this type of analysis.
Okay, well, this is very confusing from my point of view. So do you have any sense of how many people will be affected by this new tax in the long run, given there are considerable concerns here about how this will impact on millennial and Gen Zs?
As I said, we haven't got a precise number, but what I would say is, it's a fair assumption that without indexation, that the number of individuals affected, or the proportion of the population affected, will rise over time. But that, as the Treasurer said when he announced the measure, that this measure will contribute to sustainability of the system over time, and the non-indexation contributes to that over time.
So it might be 500,000 people then.
Well, as I said, I can't comment on the figure that the FSC have put out there in the public domain because we haven't done a detailed analysis of their methodology.
Okay, well, can you do some analysis and try and work out how many people your new tax is going to affect?
Well, I'm happy to take on notice if there's any further information we can share in relation to the FSC exercise.
That would be very helpful.